everyone, Johnny Boy here, and welcome to the Rune Factory 4 Special Hell Mode Level 1 walkthrough. That was a mouthful. Anywho, you may be wondering why exactly I'm starting the video from here and not the beginning of the game. Well, not to worry, because I'm just using this skill grinding spot that's at the farming tutorial to explain how this series is going to work out. And then I'll show you the important things that I did leading up to where we are now. First of all, even though this is a walkthrough, I won't be showing any story spoilers in the playthrough. So that means I'm going to be cutting out all story bits and skipping pre-boss dialogue. The reason for this is because Rune Factory 4 Special Edition is still relatively new, and so I want to avoid spoiling the story for people who still haven't experienced it yet. Second, this playthrough will keep going until Arc 2's final boss is beaten. From there, I will attempt to beat Arc 3, but given the nature of its difficulty, plus the fact that I'm both at level 1 and on Hell Mode, I may throw in the towel if it gets to the point of me having to grind all my skills just to survive. Third, for the most part, I won't exploit certain game mechanics so that the challenge is, well, challenging. I'll explain it more in detail when I get to that point, but essentially, near the beginning of the game, I could go to an endgame area, get endgame gear, or early Arc 3 gear, and just run through the early and mid game, so I won't be doing that. I will show how it's done and talk about it, however, I will be accessing certain areas that are not meant to be gone through at the later point in the story for things that I may need. Fourth, I will actually be grabbing a lot of monsters for this playthrough, so if you want to name a specific monster I tame, put the name in the comments below and I'll name it whatever has the most likes. Or at the very least, I'll pick a name that I really like from the comments. And finally, fifth, I would say that I know quite a bit about Rune Factory 4, but I don't know everything. If you know an easier way to grind the skill that I've already shown in any video, let me know in the comments on how you do it. If I test it out and it actually is better than what I showed, I'll show your method in a future video of the series. With that out of the way, let's backtrack to just a little bit before the farming tutorial. So the first thing I want to talk about is, while these guys can attack, I'm pretty sure they actually cannot kill you. I think if your HP gets too low, they just stop attacking. I've never really sat here long enough to see if they actually will kill you, but like, I've sat here for a pretty long time. Like, I believe the longest I've sat here to try and let them hit me is around 7 to 8 minutes. And they just kind of stare at you. I guess for the sake of science, I can let them do it and see if they're gonna kill me or not. I'm actually kind of interested. Let's see what happens. Yep, this is, dang it! Kill me! Do it now! Please! Are you kidding me? Watch, now the other one's gonna swing. Now the other one's gonna swing. Watch. Just wait. Okay. Well, I was right, but you know what? I'll take what I can get. There's another thing I wanted to talk about, though. Not that, but did you know that you actually cannot gain any skills or levels before the farming tutorial in this game? You do not have the menu, so the game does not have the ability to give you the experience in each of those spots. I've tried sitting in this tutorial, and if you mash in a certain way, you can keep enemies in the air forever. And since you gain experience on your weapon skills by hitting enemies instead of killing them, you generate XP by locking them into the air. But you don't actually get experience in this fight from doing that. I'll demonstrate it as soon as I find out whether or not these guys can actually kill me or not. Oh, one more. Oh, no. It is programmed like that. Yeah, even if they hit you at low HP, they won't be able to kill you. So let's just mash, keep them in the air. Okay, let's, try it again, but not suck this time with this guy. Okay, we're going to keep them in the air. Thankfully, this... Okay, the NPC betrayed me. I was about to say he was helping me out there, but you get the point. I would have easily leveled up my short sword skill at least once during that time he was in the air. But, since that didn't happen, you can see that you can neither gain skill points or levels because you don't have access to the menus. It would have been neat if it was scripted in such a way that if you did die, it would have skipped right to this scene coming up right here. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be skipping all story stuff unless there are actually a few story things that are optional that you guys might not even know about. For example, did you know at the beginning of Arc 2, when Forte is fighting an enemy, if you talk to her, she will give you a weapon. It is actually a really decent weapon too. I believe it's the, God, what is it called? The Cutlass? It's a short sword with water elemental, and it has, I believe, 200 attack. It's actually really good for when she gives it to you. Whenever I'm trying to get through the game really quickly, I just take a monster that's really strong, beat Arc 1, and then talk to her and get that weapon, and I'm pretty good to go for most of Arc 2 until I get to the later areas in the game where I need to actually craft something better. One feature that I really like about this game is that you can opt to skip the in-game tutorials. If you say don't listen, he'll say are you sure it's quite important, and then if you select don't listen again, you'll skip the tutorials that he has set out for you. The same can be said for Vishnal, which is what we're going to be doing because I already know how to farm. And we also want to be spending a lot more time in there, so I'd rather not waste my time fiddling around with the tutorial. So we just finished Chlorica's eating tutorial, and there's something I would like to point out to you guys. So first of all, if you look at the top right of the menu, you'll notice that the time is not moving at all. It's because the game is not programmed to actually start advancing in time until you complete all the tutorials. This means that we're able to do some certain exploits, but only once we set foot inside the garden. The second thing I'd like to point out is if you look at the top left of your screen under my avatar's face, you'll see a little apple icon. This icon means that I've just eaten recently and I'm full. If you're full, you can no longer gain skill in the eating skill. Did I just... whatever, it's not important. So, unfortunately, when I step foot into the garden, I will no longer be able to gain any skills for eating. However, I can gain some skills by ingesting certain things. I will show you one of the things as soon as I step in here. Do I want to name it something else? Nah, let's just keep it as is. Selfie is fine. Throughout the series, we're going to be naming things based on the comment section, so let's just keep Selfie as is and name everything else after the comments later. So, after he gives us the turnips, he tells us that we can go down there. However, since he gave us an item, we have access to our menu. Now we can look at our skills. It says no skills because we have no experience in anything. But I can eat this withered grass and gain a skill in poison resistance. I'm pretty sure in the beginning of the game, what spawns in your garden is completely random. However, there will always be certain things in there, such as withered grass, medicinal herbs, and what's this one called? Antidotal herbs. We're going to be exploiting the antidotal herbs and withered grass. Withered grass, when ingested, poisons you. Because of this, we're going to eat an antidote grass, which cures poison. And we're going to eat a withered grass, which gives us poison. And we're going to do it one more time. Cure poison. Get poisoned. Now we have a second level in poison resistance. This may not seem like much, but we do get intelligence and vitality from it, so it's increasing our stats passively and we have more health. Also, it'll be harder to poison us in the future depending on how high our skill is. A useful thing about the tutorial in the beginning is, up until you complete all of them, you cannot die and time will not pass. So, because of that, I'm able to pretty much eat whatever I want in here and I won't die. But I'm not going to do that. So, before we continue on with the exploiting, I want to point out that you should probably start picking up everything around your garden for two reasons. The first reason is because whenever you pick something up and there's blank space in your garden, something random will grow. Whether that's herbs, or withered grass, or bamboo shoots, or bluegrass, or weeds, sticks, pebbles, anything. You want to make sure that you're able to let things grow so you can gather resources naturally. The second thing is, let's see if we're lucky, every single item in this game, every one has a level. You can see that it's, with my 8 weeds here, I have different levels. There's 9, 3, 2s, and 1s. I unfortunately didn't get lucky here and don't have a single level 10 item. Level 10 items are going to be very useful to us, and I'm going to be saving every single one that I find. Now that we've finished picking everything up around the garden, it's time to start talking about what exactly we can grind here. So, depending on how many spaces of land there are, you can hoe it and gain some points. And I believe both farming and definitely earth. See, we have 1 point in earth right now. And even our farming is up a little bit. We'll see if I get another skill point from doing this. Okay, let's see what I got. I'm at 2 earth now, and farming is also at 2. So, yeah, I'm just going to be tilling as much as I can in the field and then get back to it. Fish, don't get out of the way! Okay, unless I'm mistaken, I believe that is all the land I can till right now. And we were at 2 at both farming and earth just before I started all this. Now we're at 5 on earth and 3 on farming. If we had a hammer at this point, we could just re-hammer the tilled spots and it turned back into fertile earth, and then we can till it all over again and just continuously gain farming and earth. But I guess they might have figured people would have tried that, so you don't get the hammer or the axe until a little bit later. But we do have a watering pot. And is it empty? Yeah, it's empty. So first you have to fill it up. And now we're going to start gaining water. I believe watering plants also counts towards farming, so let's just go ahead and water these up. Okay, we finished watering all the plants. Watering was at 1 and farming was at 3. Now let's check both. Farming is now at 6 and water's at 4. Water and earth and light and wind and all those other elements will increase the damage you do with those types of elements. I believe this even counts towards Rod's basic attacks, but I could be mistaken. But we're also gaining magic defense and intelligence through doing all this, so this is all very useful. Unfortunately, we have finished every single bit of farming work that we're able to do. From here on out, there's only 3 skills that we can level up. Walking, throwing, and short sword. Short sword can be leveled up by hitting the sign and water. If you remember from my explanation earlier, the longer you have something in the air and keep on hitting it with your weapon, the more experience you'll get. So I'm going to be continuously hitting this sign, and eventually it's going to hop up into the air. I think anyway. I could be wrong and it just disappears. But I'm pretty sure the sign does go into the air from what I remember. Thankfully the game has mercy on you and these things will respawn, so don't worry about destroying them. At least they do from the tutorial point. I don't think I've actually ever destroyed it afterwards. And as you can see from here, we're at level 5, which means we get the short sword dash attack. And let's go ahead and keep going. Yeah, the sign goes into the air. You just gotta make sure it doesn't fall, or it's gonna despawn. Alright, let's move on to the last thing we can hit. The shipping box. And there it goes. It's gone. So we managed to get our short sword all the way up to level, I think, 5. Yeah, halfway through 5. That's not bad. So now we have maximum RP and strength. Now, I did say you can level up walking. You could technically level up walking all the way to level 100 just by running laps around here. But, you know, that would take... I think, from what I remember, I timed this once, and at level 1 through 10, it took me like 15 to 20 minutes to get that high. So you can only imagine how long it would take to level up your walking skill just by running circles around your farm. And it's not even worth it because you're literally running everywhere in the game. So there's absolutely no point in doing this unless you just, like, need the extra stats for, you know, what I'm doing in this game, level 1 hell runs. But I'm sure you'll be fine if you just level up the other skills. Now, if you're doing a level 1 run, this may be the most important skill to level up, throwing. If you increase throwing's level, you get, let me get down to the bottom here, you get strength, vitality, and attack. I think it's one of the only skills that increases your attack damage directly. And how you level it up, at least in a grinding sense, is you keep running towards this wall, holding forward, and then you just mash A. Now, while I could sit here mashing forward and A to level up throwing to 99, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit here long enough to get it to maybe level 15. That should help me out tremendously with getting through the first boss. So, be right back. Okay, let's see what level I'm at. Throwing is level 19. That's good enough. I'm ready to get a move on. Let's just go ahead and eat this bamboo. Yummy. And now we're going to talk to Ventus Wall to get the story to move. Before we go, there's one thing I want to do really quick. If you walk up to this, Lest will basically just tell you that you need to go talk to Eliza before you do anything else. But we can hit this and gain skill points for our short sword. Also, if you're lucky, a piece of lumber will drop. Let's see what level this is. Yeah, that's just about what I expect with my luck. This is Eliza, the request box. Do not ignore this request box. You will get many important things which will help you out tremendously from completing the side quests. So let's go ahead and do our first task, which is to basically do an order. Now you're going to walk up to this and get a scene with Arthur. He's going to tell you how exactly everything works. Now we're going to go to development, do backpack, and our backpack space is increased. You can do this periodically throughout the game, but only if you have the points to spend on it. But there is one important thing that he's going to ask you to do. Now we're going to be required to do a festival. After using the order to upgrade your backpack, Arthur will give you 1,000 more points to unlock a festival. I would highly recommend not using the points to get the cooking festival because there's just no realistic way you're going to have the skill or the items to beat the festival on your first year in just 4 days. I guess it is possible if you know what you're doing, but it's a first time playthrough, it's probably not going to happen. You're realistically not going to win. And while you could choose the bean toss contest, I would suggest not doing that because if you don't get enough points by the 19th to unlock the defluffing festival, you're going to miss out on some rare materials. So, just to be safe, I'm going to pick the defluffing festival as my first choice. Now, since I have a decent grasp of how to get a lot of prince points early, I'm probably going to be able to unlock both. But in your first playthrough, you might not. So, just go with this. Oh yeah, that's one thing I forgot to do. So, I'm going to equip these seeds, and if you hold B, you could actually throw your seeds in a circle. So I'm going to plant all the seeds really quick on the pre-watered tiles. Which is one nice thing. You don't have to plant the seeds and then water them. If the ground's already pre-watered, then it'll still count. Which is a good thing. One useful thing about Jones and Nancy, the doctors of the town, is that if you talk to them while you have a status ailment, after the first initial, greeting, see, he says, "Look how pale you are, come here a moment and I'll take a look." And then he says it won't take long, and ta-da! I have been cured of my status ailment. So if you ever run out of status healing items, just keep that in mind. Jones will break your wad if you're dead and spawn on his doorstep, but he will treat any status ailment that you have if you talk to him beforehand. The next thing we're going to do is go up here and talk to Linfa, since my HP is at 0 and I'd rather not die on my first venture outdoors. So we're going to get the initial greeting out of the way and we'll talk to her. And she says this is the first time you visited our baths, and so she'll give you a deal to where you can have a couple of baths for free. This is pretty great because, first of all, when you use it the first time, you're going to gain a skill in something called bath, which I honestly don't know why there's a skill for bathing, but sure. So after bathing, you can go to your bathing skill and see that it increases both HP and RP and also gives you vitality. So you should keep in mind that you should bathe at least once a day, as you should in real life. Please keep that in mind. Okay, now that we've done our bathing and got our status ailment healed, let's talk about companions. So normally in this game, you would have to wait until you had a friendship level of 3 in order to take someone on an adventure with you. Forte, however, is a special case in this. Since she is the guardian of the town and a overall protector, She might say no here because I haven't stepped out of town, but if you ask to go on an adventure, she will automatically follow you. She is the only person in the game that you can take with you at level 0. Before you leave the town, this is very important. You need to go down here to the basement, and you need to set it to hell mode. I have already set it to hell mode, so that's perfectly fine. If you go here to the orders menu, if you've beaten the game, you can select extra orders and disable experience gain. Now, one thing I'm going to warn you about. When it says disable experience gain, it's not just talking about you. At least that was the case in the 3DS version. I have yet to test if it's actually for this one too. But in the 3DS version, whenever you disable experience gain, that means no experience for anybody. That means you can't level up your villagers, you can't level up your monsters, and you can't level up at all. So if you're going to want to take something with you, you're going to have to keep catching higher and higher level monsters. Villagers aren't going to cut it until you're able to make godlike gear from 'em. And even then, because their level is low, their AI will be simplistic. So they're not going to be really useful to take unless you get somebody like, I guess Forte would realistically be okay because she's naturally aggressive, and Vishnal might also be good. But other than those two, and maybe like Volcanon, but it's really hard to unlock him. So keep that in mind whenever you're starting this mode. You want to make sure that you have every single weapon type so you can level up every single weapon skill. Because they will give you... let me see what they give. I believe they're all the same. Yeah, it's maximum RP and strength. RP is going to be very important for this playthrough since we're going to be at level 1 the whole time. Oh, yeah, if you have a villager with you or a monster, they can show you whether there's a hidden item or not. So this spot right next to the bridge in the beginning of the game, it actually has a pretty decent chance of respawning a hidden item. So if you want to increase your search skill, you can just walk out of the room, walk back in, and there's a decent chance that there'll be a hidden item there. So just from walking in and out of the room a couple of times, I got my search skill all the way up to level 5. This area over here has an abundance of herbs, so you're going to want to come in here periodically every day to pick up what's in here. There will usually be a lot of little quests that you can take in town that require you giving herbs to someone, so keep that in mind. This may sound boring, but if you're doing a level 1 run, you should probably grind up as much skills as you can before you fight the first boss. She will demolish you in hell mode if you aren't prepared to fight her. Speaking of the first boss, I would highly recommend that what skills you have and can grind, get them up to level either 10 or 15. That should make the fight a little bit easier on you. So I spent most of the day grinding my spear and searching skill. Keep in mind that there's a skill for sleeping, and if you want to get a lot of experience in it, you need to sleep at a proper time. So that means no going to bed after 12 a.m. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Now that we've finished up our chores, let's go ahead and go to Eliza and see what we can do. So we're just going to do a quick little event to place furniture. This is important because it's our storage, and obviously we're going to want to have room to pick up things. And I'm going to dump the well over 30 stones that I got, and the sticks, and the lumber. And this fur. Why not? We'll keep everything else for now. Something to be aware of is if you throw a piece of furniture and it hasn't settled by the time you left the room, it's going to reset to where you threw it from. So with some of that money that we just got, let's go ahead and buy 2 toy herb seeds. There's going to be a quest a little bit later that requires us to plant flowers, so just taking care of this now is... it's kind of beneficial and will save us a little bit of time. Okay, let's go ahead and equip the spear. And we're going to keep this equipped until we get the final weapon ability for it, which you get at level 20. You need to sell items that you haven't sold before, because if you do... let me take care of these things real quick. Certain quests will only be unlocked if you have sold a variety of items. So anything new that you haven't sold yet, you should probably sell it, unless it's extremely valuable and you only have one of it. When you enter a new area and a scene starts, sometimes, depending on who you have with you, they'll interject and have something to add to the scene itself, like Forte is saying with Fantastic Butterflies. Now, this is a shield. Keep in mind, with two-handed weapons such as spears and long swords and fist weapons, you don't actually get the benefits of the shield, like the full benefits anyway. If you have something like a short sword equipped, then you'll gain the full benefits of the shield. Like, see, it says it'll increase my defense by 1, even though there's no defense stat on the sword at all. That's because it's actually giving me the full benefit of the shield, because it was only giving me half. This is scrap metal. Scrap metal is what you get whenever you fail forging, and it's generally useless, except for a couple of key things, one of them being that it happens to be Bado's favorite item. So if you ever run across it, give it to Bado. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but I just got creamed by an arrow and I almost died. That should give you an indication of what I'm in for. This room in particular is a special grinding spot. These ants here, they actually have a really low attack damage. So, if you put on some armor, come in there, and just let them attack you, you'll increase your defensive stat relatively easily. What you want to do is you want to go in here and let these things hit you. See, I just put on some shoes, and instead of doing 19, it did 10. But now I'm dead. Now, we got lucky here. Nancy is pure-hearted and doesn't charge us anything for going and dying on the field. Jones, however, will take a ridiculous amount of money from you, depending on how far in the game you are and how much money you have. And here's another thing. If you have a companion with you, there's a chance that after the bath, they will give you an item. This hot milk is a very, very good item. It gives you 1000 RP, 880 HP, RP max 80, and RP max 5%. We're going to be making a lot of this whenever we're grinding up our cooking skill, but for now, we're just going to sell this. This room in particular I found has a decent chance of giving you a random chest. Random chests come in two different varieties. There's the regular, which gives you basically any item except for weapons and armor and spells. And the silver chest will give you nothing but weapons, armor, or spells. So if you're bored and you're looking for a hidden chest or two, maybe you want to walk out here or walk back in and see if you get lucky. Forte is really good to have with you early because she's really tanky. As you can see, these ants are actually doing nothing to her. And also, as you just saw, she healed me, which allows me to grind a bit easier. We're going to go ahead and... Oh, there's actually no spawner. So we're going to... Ooh. Oh. Goodbye, money. Curse you, Jobs. Now, I know better than to walk in there and get my butt kicked, but I'm going to give it one attempt before I start my grinding session. Because, well, for the laughs, I guess. So, this is Ambrosia. It starts off as a caterpillar and then turns into a butterfly of doom. Oh, hey, charge attack. That should help us out. So I'm going to charge it and just mash B and let her take a ton of damage. And now I'm going to die. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. She, in any other difficulty, she's relatively easy to take care of, but because this is hell mode, she has an attack that hits you multiple times at once, and each one does nearly all of your HP. So until you grind, you're going to get your butt kicked by this boss multiple times. So now I'm going to show you how I grind my defensive skills since, you know, I just got my butt kicked. First, equip the short sword so your shield is giving you the full amount. Second, hold recovery items. Third, let them hit you. Okay, Forte, calm down. You just killed all my buddies and then you... whatever. So now that Forte's gone, that should be relevant. There was a hidden chest in there. Oh well. Now that Forte's gone, I'm just going to let these things hit me. I didn't want them to kill me, but you get the point. You want them to almost kill you, and then you want to heal. Once you heal, you just repeat the process over and over again. You keep this process of letting them hit you and heal until your defense is at a good enough spot to where they can't actually kill you. This will probably take me a minute, unless I choose to go buy a bandana, which will increase my defense even more. But I really don't want to do that right now. And they killed me again. See, Jones is only taking 3 gold right now, but just you wait. Just you wait until he starts taking hundreds of thousands at the end of the game. It's brutal. Okay, here's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to be spending some time off camera grinding up the skills I showed you guys how to level. And when we come back, we're going to be fighting Ambrosia, showing off some more skills to grind, as well as capturing some monsters for the first time. So, until next time, see you later.